This is, I just want to show this to you. This is from about 10 years ago when Glenn Greenwald still used to get invited on Bill Maher's show. And
Is that long ago?
yeah. Watch this.
Our fault what came out. We didn't go into Egypt.
Well,
We wound up with the Muslim Brotherhood.
So this is him. This is when him and Sam Harris got on their Muslim religion is worse. They're more bloodthirsty. Muslims are more bloodthirsty than Christians. There's nobody more bloodthirsty than fucking Christians.
We got to nuke them first was their main thrust of their argument.
It was the crazy. As we go into Iraq, kill 1 million people. As we go into Syria, as we're in Afghanistan, as Yemen, Somalia, we are the world's terrorists. We're the ones setting the Middle East on fire. It isn't Al Qaeda. It isn't fucking Muslims. It's us. It's NATO. It's the West. And guess what? We had a plan to do it, and that's why 9/11 happened, because we needed a new Pearl Harbor so they could go into 7 Muslim countries in 5 years. And the only 2 left are Lebanon and Iran, and they're trying to get that done right now. So they went into all the other countries that they had that plan. It's called the Project for a New American Century, and that's why 9/11 was allowed to happen. And just like October 7th was allowed to happen because they needed a pretext to go in and mow those people down. And people, why? By the way, everybody was telling me Alex Jones was bad on Israel, so I pressed him on it. He agreed with everything I said. He was like, yep, they fucking did this on purpose so they could go and mow the people down. So Alex Jones is on.
Well, also, Jimmy, a lot of that stuff that happened in the Middle East was the Greater Israeli Project, which was they just want to expand Israel into a lot. I mean, so I'm not, I'm a Christian, but a lot of this is some Zionist shit done to provoke us to go in there and do some stuff on behalf of Israel. A lot of that. Not absolving those Christians in those, but a lot of this has to do with Zionism and the desire to just basically expand Israel.
Oh, so here's when Glenn Greenwald stuck it to Bill Maher, and he was never invited back
Our
on.
fault what came out. We didn't go into Egypt.
Well, we
wound up with the Muslim Brotherhood.
We didn't go into Egypt. We were supporting and propping up Mubarak for 30 years, even as we were cheering for all the Tahrir Square demonstrators as though we were on their side. It was our government that kept Mubarak in power, just like we've done across the entire Muslim world. And it's amazing for you to say that, well, look at all these Muslims. The minute you give them a little bit of freedom, they go wild and they start being all violent. How can you be a citizen of the United States, the country that has generated more violence and militarism in the world over the last 5 or 6 decades, and say, look at those people over there, they are incredibly violent? We play a significant role in what has been happening in the Middle East because we've been interfering and dominating that region in order to have access to the oil.
I wasn't talking about violence.
So,
I was talking about theocracy. That doesn't happen here.
No, okay, that doesn't happen here, but at the same time, Iran isn't invading lots of other countries and occupying them for a decade, nor are fundamentalist Muslim countries the way the United States is. So these things are interlinked because we are continuously interfering in that part of the world. And so to say...
It's all our fault?
It's not all our fault, but when you send your military for 6 straight decades into other countries to bomb them, kill their children and women and innocent men, prop up dictators, you take responsibility for your actions and say, to the extent that that region...
That religion goes back 1,000 years before our revolution, so I don't think we can take all the blame.
I don't think we should. I think we should take a lot of it. And there's lots of bodies and corpses that have been piled up in the name of Christianity and Judaism as well.
Not recently.
Have you heard of the occupation of the West Bank and Gaza for the last 50 years, motivated in part by extremist views of Judaism, or the wars in Europe, or the fact that there were generals in the United States saying we have to go and invade and destroy Iraq, a country of 26 million people, because our God is bigger? Lots of religions, not just Islam, produce violence.
Well, if I could just make one quick point about Egypt.
That silly liberal view that all religions are alike because it makes you feel good.
No, it makes you feel good to say our side is better than people over there.
No, it makes you feel good to put a crown on your head and say, I'm a good person. How do I prove that?
You get to ignore the responsibility that your own government has for the violence and instability in the world by saying, look, it's that primitive religion over there that's to blame.
All right, it's time for...
Okay. So that's Bill Maher doing mental gymnastics, and boy, he's a fucking Olympian, isn't he? He does this first. So first thing he does, he plays ignorant at first, then he gaslights second, then the intimidation, he employs mockery and shaming third, and then fourth is moving on to a new topic. There you go.
Glenn wasn't talking about religion at any point, by the way. He was talking about us blowing them up.
Right.
No, I was like, well, religion has always been there. Okay, okay, people, let's move on.
again, and if you sit there and you go, okay, there's a bunch of, like, if you look at all the Abrahamic religions and you go, okay, there's some extremist Muslims, everyone's like, yeah, dude, they want Sharia law. They're crazy people. If we go, there's some Christian zealots out there, these fundamentalists, they want crazy stuff, like to execute gay people. Be like, oh yeah, it's totally crazy. But when you get Bill Maher, who's supposedly an atheist, and you start talking...
He says that about them.
About the Judea, he never will go into that. Even his movie about making fun of all religions, the way he made fun of Judaism was bringing on a Jew who hated Israel. That was the way he mocked it. If you take a look at Talmudic Zionists, they have a certain view of the world, but nobody ever talks about it. It's all the Abrahamic religions have crazies that we have to check. And because they have certain views that they want to push on. Like Sharia law, everyone's like, oh, Sharia law is crazy. Yeah, it totally is. Guess what? The same thing is with Talmudic rules. It's fucking nuts what they can do. And nobody ever talks about it. And he acts like that does not exist at all. If you look at what Israel is doing right now to Gaza, it comes right out of these Talmudic views, the Zionist view of people outside of Judaism, and it's no different than Muslims. And the only thing I would tell you different between Judaism and Islam is that we're bombing the fuck out of the Muslims. That's what we're doing. That's a much different thing. So that's just my personal opinion.
Wait, I have a question.
Yeah.
Is Sharia law, that's about pronouns, right?
Yeah. Oh,
Crazy law about pronouns? You can't blaspheme pronouns.
all extremists need to be checked. That's all I'm saying.
Her, tell the story about Sacha Baron Cohen. Can you tell that story?
Oh, okay. So we did this story. Somebody tweeted someone in the IDF holding a gay flag. Not the new updated one, by the way. The old one of just regular gay.
Yeah.
That's how far behind. And they were at Gaza all flattened holding the flag up. And we did a story about it, and I found out it's a guy I know named Lee Kern, who was a writer on Who Was America. And he's like a funny guy, too. He's just a real emotional dude. I didn't know he was Jewish, but I guess he feels strongly about it. And so he was all like, oh, Hamas and LGBTQ, how could that be? Meanwhile, Sasha didn't post anything because he tried during Bruno, remember his fake gay thing to provoke? He tried to get real terrorists to like choke him out. He wanted like Muslim terrorists or just somebody Muslim to freak out because he was acting so gay. And all they did, they would show him pictures like gay porn and these retired terrorists that they found. They would go, oh yeah, that is no good. And then the next guy would go, no, that is haram.
And so he couldn't provoke the Muslim terrorists into attacking him.
And he goes to Israel. He goes to Israel. He goes in there, and Hasidic Jews come out of a yeshiva school, see him in a Hasidic gay outfit that he had. They all start beating the living shit out of him. Okay? They beat him so bad, he broke character and told them who he was. He's never done that. That guy does not leave character. They were going to kill him, so he had to go, I'm Sacha Baron Cohen. You know, I'm Cohenim. That's a Levite. You got to... And so that he's not saying anything with that LGBTQ because it turns out Israel's not that cool about it.
And he had that whole scene, and I know you wrote on it, but he had the scene where he went to that Arizona city, and they're like, we're building the biggest mosque in your city, and he watched all these people freak out. I guarantee you, if you took that mosque and put it right next to Sacha Baron Cohen, he would have the exact same reaction, which was like, you ain't moving that here.
He's cool as long as you don't put it in Israel, I'm pretty sure.
You think he'd be okay with a giant mosque next to his giant mansion? Is that what you're telling me?
Look, he's like liberal, he's old money too. So you gotta understand old money liberals. Like the one argument I gotten with him was about Antifa, because at the time, this is how I happen to know somebody who got the shit kicked out of him by Antifa, who was on their side, but he filmed them. And he goes, oh yeah, these people think Antifa's bad. This is a while ago, it was like 2017. I go, yeah, they are bad, dude. He goes, no, it's just lesbians marching. That's what he said. I go, dude, you have no idea what it is. Now, back then, neither of us knew it was all feds, obviously. But back then, so I had to leave the room for a little bit because we got in a fight about Antifa is just lesbians asking for lesbian things. That's how Bill Maher's like that. Everybody that's in that like Hollywood kind of clique, they don't read or learn anything because they know people. I have a friend at the CIA. He tells me everything that's going on.
So, and they never talk about how Ukraine banning the Russian Orthodox Christians in Ukraine, is that because Zelensky's a secret Muslim? Yeah. Right? They
I
never
thought he was a Jewish beard for Nazis. I thought he was the Will Smith of the Azovs, Jada Pinkett.
Come see us do a live stand-up show. We'll be in Venice, California, Palmdale, California, Omaha, Des Moines, Milwaukee, Lansing, Bend, Oregon, Portland, Oregon, Seattle, Washington, Boston, Massachusetts, and we're going to Europe. Do you live in Europe? We're going to be there. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for all those tickets.